I gotta be honest, the trailer surprised me. I think the controversy with Disney's Snow White remake is fairly known, but in case you don't know, it all started when Rachel Zegler, the lead actress, opened her mouth talking shit about the original film.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true.
Specifically the romance, which if you watch the original, it hardly has any. I think she might have been thinking about the other adaptations of the Snow White tale, and that's why she was harping so much on the romance. That's just my theory. A game theory! I'm sorry, let's move on. Anyway, let's finally get into the trailer. The story they're presenting in this 1-minute trailer seems pretty straightforward and aligned with the original movie. I have no doubt that was done on purpose due to all the backlash. But we all know how trailers work. What you see is never guaranteed. Now onto the thing that I really want to talk about. The color. You didn't think I was gonna say that, did you? But there's actual color. For over a decade, color in media has just completely disappeared, and no, I'm not exaggerating. There are loads of videos talking about the absence of color in recent media and the problem it can cause in the storytelling. Think of Disney's Peter Pan. The story is about children being taken away to a magical land with mermaids, pirates, and the promise of never having to grow up and be burdened with the same troubles that plagues their parents. This screams imagination. Meaning you'd expect to see vibrant colors, but this is what you get instead. Depending on the mood of the film, the lack of color can either be a distraction or an asset to the story. With most war films, they're purposely desaturated of their colors because it's a story of war. Color is used in a variety of ways to express so much, and even before color was ever an option, filmmakers strive to incorporate color in their films any way they could to elevate the expression of their films. For the life of me, I can't remember what video I was watching that talked about wanting to see the whimsical side of fantasy storytelling come back in films. This trailer and the use of color gives me that whimsical vibe that we have been missing in fantasy films. Everything is so hyper-realistic, and it just takes away the magic in films that allows you to suspend your disbelief. I briefly mentioned this in my Fixing Damsel video, and how this has led us to hyper-criticize every little thing that isn't realistic. People make fun of Elodie scaling a wall of jagged crystals, but no one talks about Frodo and Sam walking barefooted up a volcano in Mordor. The criticism is clearly selective. Yeah, I know, hobbit feet are different from human feet, but realistically, their feet would have gotten cut up. Please don't come after me, I love Lord of the Rings. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It doesn't have to be hyper-realistic, it just needs to have common sense. Am I at all saying that the Snow White movie is going to be any good? No, unfortunately, but I do think it's making an attempt, at least with the visuals, to capture that nostalgia when it comes to older fantasy films. With that said, I know the internet is going to get flooded with reaction videos. The big reaction will be the CGI, specifically the dwarves. Let's finally talk about that. Before the delay was announced, people were confused on the role the dwarves would play in the remake after images were leaked about the 7 bandits, and I have a real theory this time. I have no evidence, and the only clue I'm basing this off of is the lack of mention of the dwarves before the delay. This is pure speculation, but my theory is Disney truly had no intention of having the dwarves in the film. They were completely scratched out, and possibly an early test screening was shown and someone said it was shit. But I don't think it was from the employees. From what we've learned, the employees' opinions don't matter. That's why I think if this did happen, it came from someone with serious influence within the company. It was only after Disney announced the delay did we finally get an image of the dwarves, which was the first time they were ever finally mentioned. I also find it hypocritical after all the preaching these companies have been doing, lecturing us about diversity and inclusion. Disney chose to CGI dwarves instead of casting 7 actors with dwarfism, which is ironic considering they do have an actor with dwarfism, which further convinces me of my theory. I would not be surprised if 10 years after this movie comes out, someone reveals that they never intended to have the dwarves in this movie, and they were pressured to put them in, and that's what caused the delay. Speaking of the delay, people made speculations that the delay was due to the Daily Wire Bank company releasing their trailer of Snow White. I don't believe that at all. I think what really happened was the delay was already decided, they just had to decide when to announce it, and when Daily Wire dropped their trailer, they spotted an opportunity. Disney knows that most people wait for YouTube critics to review a movie before deciding to go see it themselves. I'm betting that Disney saw this opportunity to turn this into a Edward or Jacob scenario. If this turns into a who did it better, people would feel more inclined to see the films and tweet their choice rather than wait for the review. But I could be wrong, and Daily Wire could have already known about the delay and chose to release the trailer before the announcement, making it look like Disney was intimidated by them. After saying all that, I will admit the dwarves look off. I don't know if it's due to the proportions, but something is off. As for Gal Gadot, I don't consider her a strong actor, but if this film is leaning more towards the whimsical side of fantasy, I think this will be a good opportunity for her to let loose. We've already seen Snow White under a more realistic lens with The Huntsman, and it's a pretty damn good movie, but it's time for a change. While I don't have that much hope for this movie story-wise, but I wouldn't mind being proven wrong, I do hope it does well, if only to change the pace with Western media. I just feel like we're getting the same story over and over again with the same color palette. I know this is gonna sound weird me saying this, but the Snow White trailer is refreshing. Let's take a moment and compare this trailer to another fantasy movie that's going to be released soon. Let's compare Snow White and Wicked. Both these fantasy movies are set in magical lands, but only one of them looks like it. Look at all that pink in the trailer, and yet none of it pops out at you. Look at Elphaba and compare her to Snow White. Which one does your gaze go to the most? I know which one mine does. The whole point of Wicked is that Elphaba stands out and she's ostracized for that. But the muted colors keeps her from standing out in the trailer the way she's intended to. And just to let you know, I don't have faith in Wicked at all. The music will probably be good, but the execution, I don't know. I know this isn't the video you thought you were going to get. Normally when I make these short review videos, I mostly complain, and while there is plenty to complain about, I just want to talk about how the trailer surprised me in its presentation. I know I'm probably going to be one of the few people that speaks positively about this trailer, while everyone else dogpiles it, and let them have their fun. No one opinion is the correct one. We all have different ways of seeing things, and my opinion is just a tiny fish in a sea of opinions. Thank you very much for watching, and like and subscribe!